Hello everyone, and welcome to another off-road update. As the 2024 Grand National Cross Country season headed into its traditional summer break, riders made the trek to West Virginia at the Snowshoe Mountain Ski Resort for the Snowshoe Gncc Round 9 of the series. Paying homage to the original Gncc, the Blackwater 100, riders took off on the asphalt road that lined the Snowshoe property before heading off onto the most challenging technical course of the season. With a clear and present championship favorite making its way to the front heading into the summer break, everyone knew that a good finish would carry great momentum into the rest of the season starting back in the fall. With the green flag waving, the first four rows were made up of the top 20 in the overall point standings heading into Snowshoe. Stu Baylor would grab the lead on row number 1 ahead of Jordan Ashburn, XC2 points leader Grant Davis, defending champion Craig Delong, and points leader Johnny Girroir. The remaining 3 rows would be compiled of XC1, XC2, as well as top amateur rider heading into the event, 258 points leader Nick DeFeo. 5 miles into the opening lap, and it was Red Bear Kawasaki Stu Baylor leading the way over Coastal Gas's Ashburn, Landers KTM's Davis, points leader Girroir, and DeLong. The one variable that made this year's snowshoe event different from any other year in history: dust. With little to no rain leading up to the weekend, the riders were faced with dry, dusty conditions that separated the field the second they left the hard road in front of the fans on the starting line. Nearing the end of lap 1, Baylor controlled the lead over Ashburn and Girroir while Davis and DeLong rounded out the top 5. 6th was held by Babbitts Kawasaki's Grant Baylor, while following him was Active Air FXR Husqvarna backed Evan Smith, with the top 10 being rounded out by Ricky Russell, Danté Oliveira, and Lyndon Snodgrass. Halfway through the second lap, and Baylor still held the point position over Girroir, who had moved into second and began gaining ground on the leader. Ashburn, Davis, and DeLong were locked in a race for third, while mounting a charge of his own was Grant Baylor. The rest of the top 10 remained in the same order. A few miles later, Grant Baylor had moved to the rear wheel of Ashburn to challenge for the third place position on track. DeLong had displaced Davis to round out the top 5. As the riders entered the pits just before lap 3, it was Girroir emerging with the number 1 spot. Stu Baylor was in second, while Grant Baylor was just behind in third. Ashburn and DeLong still rounded out the top 5, while Davis and Evan Smith were next, ahead of Ricky Russell. Smith's race would stall out though, as he had to make a wheel change in his pit, as the tire he ran had been falling apart. By the time he re-entered the race, he was back in 10th in the overall standings. Back at the 5-mile mark for lap 4, and it was Grant Baylor popping into view with the lead on track, with Girroir close to his rear wheel. The front duo pulling away as early race leader Stu was beginning to fall off the pace after losing his front brakes. Ashburn remained in 4th, while XC2 series leader Davis had moved back around DeLong to round out the top 5 on track. Ricky Russell, meanwhile, had his race altered when his foot peg caught a rock and was left dangling off the motorcycle. Russell would eventually replace the foot peg in the final 2 laps, coming home ultimately in 14th. Just before the white flag, Grant Baylor popped into the lead but was letting everyone know around that he had no rear brakes. On the long, steep snowshoe downhills, no brakes would make for a difficult challenge. Because of that, Girroir could smell the exhaust from the Kawasaki rider ahead. Stu Baylor was all alone in third, while Ashburn and Davis rounded out the top 5. Smith, meanwhile, made an incredible charge after the wheel swap to emerge 6th on track, with second-place XC2 rider Josh Toth right behind in 7th, as DeLong had dropped all the way back to 8th. Oliveira was 9th, while JS Racing Sherco's Josh Schrang rounded out the top 10 on track. A few miles into the final lap, and Grant Baylor was still ahead and had padded his advantage over the championship points leader Girroir. Stu Baylor, Ashburn, and Davis still rounded out the top 5 all alone in their respective positions. With the checkered flag in sight, Johnny Girroir was the first to cross the line, but had to wait to see how close Grant Baylor was as he started on row 2 behind Girroir, giving Baylor a time adjustment on track. When Baylor crossed the line, he was 6 seconds short. Johnny Girroir grabbed his 4th win of the season ahead of Grant Baylor, with Stu Baylor taking the final spot on the podium. 4th would go to Jordan Ashburn, while XC2 leader Grant Davis finished 5th, along with his 5th class win of the year. Evan Smith would climb all the way back to 6th overall while taking 5th in the XC1 class, ahead of XC2 runner-up Josh Toth, who finished 7th. 8th overall went to Danté Oliveira, with Josh Strang and XC2 third-place finisher Thad Duvall rounding out the top 10. As we look at the point standings heading into summer break, here's how the XC1 point standings shake down. Johnny Girroir leads the way by 43 over Stu Baylor, with Jordan Ashburn an additional 50 points behind. Defending champion Craig Delong in 4th, with Grant Baylor rounding out the top 5. In the XC2 points chase, it's Grant Davis out front, as well as holding on to 3rd overall in the series standings with XC1 and XC2 riders combined. Davis has a 37-point lead over Landers KTM teammate Gus Reardon, with defending class champion Liam Draper, who was out of action for Snowshoe, in 3rd. Cody Barnes and 2008 XC2 champion Thad Duvall rounded out the top 5. Thank you everyone for watching. Round 10 fires up after the summer break at the Buckwheat 100 Gncc August 30th and September 1st in West Virginia. I'll see you guys there.